Do you know what your partner really hears when you say, "You did this to me," or "You made me feel this way," or "I'm like this now because of you," right? When it's in a negative connotation, right? Whenever it's not something positive, right? Do you know what they're really hearing versus what you're saying? Because see, so often we think we're communicating so clear and we're expressing ourselves and we're calling out the other person, we're confronting them, which is true in some regards, but the way in which you do it changes everything. And I've talked about it a number of times in the past, right? In different videos about, hey, not playing the blame game with your partner. But I want to go a little bit deeper this time to really land the plane and help you with a perspective that I hope you embrace that will help you tremendously in not doing a self-sabotaging act like pointing that finger at your partner, even when you have every justifiable right to do so. Before I get to what your partner is actually hearing versus what you're saying, let's break down the aftermath of you saying these things, right? Because I think it's going to really help you see my perspective whenever I get to what they're actually hearing. So let's look at the outcome you get. And let's be clear here. I'm talking about the outcome from an argument, right? When it turns into a disagreement. Because if your partner agrees that the things you're calling them out for and that you're bringing to light that they're guilty of, then most likely they're going to be sorry and, empathetic and remorseful towards you, right? And probably be more so quiet and let you just vent because they get it. But if you wind up in arguments more often than not, whenever you bring things to your partner like this, and they wind up fighting back, right? They're defending themselves. They become defensive to the point where they start yelling back at you, or they start pointing fingers back at you, or to where they start making it maybe about them now and trying to dismiss your feeling, right? Anything they can do to not be the quote unquote bad guy, right? Because none of us wants to be that. And then it comes into this yelling match, and it comes into maybe them bringing up things you did in the past, or trying to find something or anything they can do to turn the tables back towards you, or say why you're the problem as to why they did what they did, right? Maybe they even own what they did, but they say they did it because you did something, right? And they start just throwing blame. You guys are tossing it back and forth, and it becomes this catastrophe of a conversation, right? I'm highlighting that because that experience is very uncomfortable, right? Not something that you want. And you definitely don't want to experience that from your partner when you're trying to express how you feel about something that maybe they have done that has contributed to a negative result that you're getting, or something that is impacting you in an unhealthy way, right? The last thing you want is for them to become defensive and start trying to, either dismiss or, completely overlook your concerns, because now you don't feel seen and feel heard, right? So just as intensely as you're getting that pushback from them to where they start arguing back at you, now I'm gonna tell you the reason why you're getting that. It's beyond just them not wanting to be wrong and not wanting to take accountability. It goes much, much deeper, even if they're not consciously aware of how deep it goes for them. Their body and mind is, and that's why they react so intensely and push back so hard instinctually. Because you notice the moment you go and you kind of attack someone or you put that blame on somebody, it doesn't take them long to respond, do they? Does it? If they don't agree, or if they, feel offended or feel like, oh, their character's being attacked, they respond just like that. No, I didn't. Oh, what? No, I wouldn't. No, see, and they might even cut you off. You're in the middle of expressing yourself and they jump in and cut you off mid-sentence, right? Because that's pre-wired information. That's not something they thought about. It was a reflex, right? So it's ingrained in them, not even something they're consciously having to think of. Yes, when they start to talk back to you, they're consciously thinking of things to pull in to the reaction, to the reflex, but it's not something they sat there and already had preloaded in their mind, ready to go once you attack them, right? Or once you blame them. So the reason why their reflex is queued up that way to that degree is because whenever you point the finger at your partner and you say to them, especially with that emotion, right? Delivery also matters, right? That's everything usually. See, it's not what's the saying? It's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? That goes miles when it comes to you addressing your partner on something. Because look, you don't just go to your partner and say, hey, whenever you said that thing and made me feel bad, or whenever you did that thing, now I got this bad result because of that. You don't say this normal. You say, hey, look, whenever you went and you said that, it really made me feel horrible. Or whenever you did that, that's the reason why I'm not to get this in life, right? You have all the emotion and the passion in there to where it's intense. So they feel that energy and they hear the words, right? So what they're actually hearing when you're doing this and you're saying things like this, you're saying you did this thing, right? And it's a negative outcome, is they're really hearing you say they don't deserve love. They're really hearing you say, I don't love you. You're not deserving of my love, right? And in their mind, they hear that and it also processes to them to say, if I accept that message, then it means to me that I don't deserve love. And I want you to really sit with that for a second. And I'm going to connect the dots for you in a moment as to how we get there, right? Because I think some people could say, well, I mean, how for me saying that you did this whole thing, that you impacted me and it was negative for me, means you have to feel like you don't deserve love all of a sudden. That's really extreme, right? And yeah, consciously it is, but people usually aren't thinking of this in a conscious way. Their subconscious is kicking in. But to understand this, you have to follow this trail. And this is why I wanted to speak first about how your partner tends to react whenever you say such things. Think about it. What would people majority wise react so intensely to and reject the idea of you saying, hey, you did this thing and I got this result, right? To where they cut you off mid-sentence if you're still speaking to defend themselves and say, no, I didn't. And they point the finger right back at you. What would motivate someone to go that hard is a reflex, not even thinking about it, to fire back and start defending themselves and start trying to, downplay whatever you're saying or whatever. Then something that if they did sit there and embrace what you're saying on a deeper level could mean they're not being a person that is deserving of love because of their actions. You give me something that really makes sense, right? Because see, if people say, oh, they're defending their character. Yeah, maybe so. Defending, the qualities they see in themselves, right? Maybe so. But all those things trails back to a core root. The reason why you care to defend your character, or you care to be an honorable person, or you care to have morality and principles to feel like you're being a good person is because on the other side of being a good person, you rest easy at night feeling like you are someone that is deserving of love in your life. The one core thing we all crave to give in this world and receive in this world is love. And so it does not make sense in your mind to say, I can go be a horrible person, that I acknowledge I'm being a horrible person or I'm doing horrible things and deserve love in return. It's a basic rule system that does not make sense. And since that does not make sense, we all have a general understanding that, hey, if I'm going to get love back or deserve something loving, that's a positive thing. You have to be positive. You have to do positive stuff for someone to want to love on you. Because when you think about it yourself, would you ever want to love on someone intentionally if you met a person and from day one, they were just a jerk, right? They were someone that wasn't pleasant to be around. They said disrespectful things and it was just a negative, painful experience to be around that person. You wouldn't want to continue to be around them to love them and, make them your lover. Yes, that person probably needs to be loved on, right? They probably need love because why would they be acting all negative and being this toxic unless they're struggling internally for love, right? But you wouldn't, consciously and openly and proactively choose them to be a integrated part of your life on a regular day, right? They wouldn't become your best friend. They wouldn't become, a really close person to you, like a family member, right? Maybe there's someone that you try to, help, but at a distance so they don't ruin your emotional space, right? Your physical, mental, and emotional well-being, right? Your environment. They don't toxify your situation with their toxicity, right? You wouldn't do that, right? Because you want to pour love into people that feels like someone that's loving back, right? Someone that feels good to love on, right? someone that makes you want to love on them for who they are, right? We understand this on the subconscious level, even though we don't consciously think of it often. But that's the information that you store inside of yourself. And so what you do is you innately say, well, if I only want to love on someone that feels like a good person to love on, then I want to be that kind of person myself so I can feel deserving of that love, the love that I crave so much to have, the love that I crave to be a someone that I can give. Because if I can say that I'm someone that is loving to go give love and therefore I'm deserving to receive it, then now I can say I am a positive person. I am a contribution to this world, not a hindrance, not a detractor. I don't destroy things. I contribute to things. It makes me feel more optimistic and positive about myself, right? I get to feel empowered and confident to speak and be boisterous about things, or to, stand my ground on certain things because I know it's coming from a good place, right? That's the whole trail that goes on inside of you, or at least it's been wired that way for a long time. And look, society supports it as well. From day one, you see movies and things, then you feel good. You connect emotionally to the movie where someone does something beautiful and great for someone, and you feel offended in a way. You feel violated when you watch the movies with the villains that do heinous things to people, because you think about, what if that was me and they did that to me? What if that was my family member? They did that to my family member. Man, you get almost angry at that villain, right? And so you never want to be the symbol of something that is repelling to you. And so whenever you say to your partner things like, you did this to me, right? You said that and you made me feel this way, the you stuff, where yes, their actions may have absolutely been the source to causing your experience. But whenever you place their actions on them, you're making them the problem and not their actions the problem. And if they're the problem and the thing that they've done is this negative thing that does not have love inside of it, then now if they embrace that on a subconscious level, it means they were not being loving or deserving of love, right? Because if I identify with this thing you're saying, me, I did, right? If I identify with it, meaning that thing that is me, you're saying, I did, I made you feel, right? That means I am the source of your pain, meaning I'm not being the source of love. Meaning if I'm not being the source of love, I don't know if I deserve it, right? Puts that into question. And that's the last thing I feel comfortable with. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fight teeth and nail against any idea that may suggest that I'm not really a person that likes to love and deserves to get it back, right? I'm not the villain. I'm not the bad guy, right? So then you start trying to fight for that character and your sense of, morality and all those things, really to prove you deserve love. And let me add this fuel to the fire. That's just the basics of it, right? Now, someone that's healed, happy, and whole that still maybe drops the ball and does something that, violates their partner, right? Not maybe intentionally, because we're all flawed as humans. No matter if you become healed, happy, and whole, we all have flaws. I have flaws too. None of us are perfect. That's not the name of the game, because perfection robs the gift of growth, right? If you never want to be perfect, because that means you can't get any better from there, right? That's your ceiling. We're not built to have ceilings. So it's not about being perfect. So even someone that is happy, healthy, and whole, they can still drop the ball. But someone in that position is less likely to be as reactive because they're truly at peace within themselves, right? They don't have that necessity to go and turn up the moment you say something that may attack their character by saying, you did, you are this, or because of you, I am this way. And you put this weight on them for a really big negative result that they would never want to be a contribution to, right? They still may not like what you're saying, but they'll more likely let you finish. They'll more likely hear you out and then calmly say, well, I don't know if I agree with that. I see how you feel and that matters. And I'm sorry you feel that way, right? I can see how you kind of maybe even see some of these things you're saying. But, I believe some of the information there, maybe you've gotten some of it wrong from how you're seeing it. Let me explain my side at least. Let hear me out, right? Because I hear some of what you're saying, but I don't agree with all of it. Let me, speak for some of the things and fill in some of the gaps that seems like are there, right? They wouldn't feel so triggered to have to defend. They more so have a conversation of understanding to get on the same page. But if you have a partner that has unhealed wounds, traumas, things they have not worked through fully yet with inside of themselves, then you're more likely to get that regurgitated reflex triggered response a lot sooner and a lot easier, right? So if you ever wondered why, man, when I say something to my partner and I tell them, hey, you did this thing or you made me feel this way or whatever, and this, you're the reason why I'm like this and all that, and they respond really intensely and they get irate and things like that, it's a sign of a deep wound that still needs to be tended to. Because deep down, when you have different wounds that you haven't healed, that in those wounds put into question your love worthiness in your mind, right? It's not something you share with the world, but your little deep dark secret is, I don't know if I'm fully deserving of love because I got this little nasty secret of maybe this thing I did in the past or the way I was living before in a way that just wasn't honorable. Yeah, I've changed my ways, but man, I'm still trying to come to rest that I did those things. And so whenever your partner says something to you like, you did this to me or you made me feel this way, it exposes that wound and it says, oh my gosh, maybe that wound, those things I did, that little narrative that I'm thinking that maybe that means I'm not so good of a person, you're confirming that by pointing this finger at me right now. And so because that wound's not healed, I have to defend the wound because I don't want that narrative to be true. So now I come and I fight back at you, right? Now, oh no, heck no. Well, you and I just give you all the fire and brimstone, right? I bring all that I can at you to make sure I don't have to ever embrace my deepest fear that maybe I'm not deserving of the love that I want to be deserving of. Now, obviously, there's many things that can happen or needs to happen into the healing from this space if that is a situation you have with your partner, right? And that's for another video. It'd be a whole, 30-minute video trying to talk on that piece. But what I'll say to end this one is, if nothing else, I hope you took from this, really be mindful every time you fix it in your mind to say to your partner, you did this, or because you said that, or it's because of you, I am XYZ. To whenever you're about to say it, literally hear yourself saying, you did this, and so now I don't love you. You said that, and now you don't deserve love. Like, tag that onto the end, because that's ultimately what your partner is more likely hearing on the subconscious level, even if they consciously aren't thinking of it. And you tell me if that doesn't change how you want to approach that delivery, right? Tell me it doesn't make it a lot more feasible and reasonable to say, hey, whenever you said this thing or whenever this thing happened, whenever this was said or whenever this was done, this is how I felt, right? Or this is how I interpreted it. This is how I feel it impacted me, to where you're speaking in I statements from your experience about their action, but not speaking about them, the person being the problem. It's the actions being the problem, and not saying it in a definite sense, saying, hey, your actions are definitely the source to my thing. You're saying this so I see it. This is how I feel. This is my experience. To where you don't make it a blanketed experience across both of you that they have to either accept or reject. And accepting it means they're not deserving of love on a subconscious level, right? So be mindful to make sure you're always making their actions the problem, not them the problem, and that you're never using vocabulary that may make them have to entertain the idea that they're not deserving of the love that they crave to give and receive just like you do. Let's get it.